Hey everybody, you are tuning in to the Canary Cry News Talk live stream, pre-stream. Congratulations for making it. And we're going to get the show started here real quick. But the first comment of the day award goes to Guthbrand over on Twitch. Congratulations, Guthbrand, or Guthbrand, or Guthbrand. Congratulations. There's somebody I'm banning. Anyways, thanks for being here, everybody. We are about to get started. We got some good and important stories to go over today, but remember, if you haven't done it yet, follow us in multiple locations. For instance, follow us over at twitch.tv/Canary Cry Radio, or if you're over on YouTube on the Face Like the Sun channel, remember to follow us on the Canary Cry Radio YouTube channel as well. And if you are here early, it is your duty, your solemn duty, to press the like button so we can get those algorithms fired up, folks. Okay, here we go. Strap on in.
The world is getting crazier. People are acting more and more insane. The end of the world is tomorrow. Tomorrow. There's only one thing to do when the world is falling apart. Listen to Basil and Gonz as they discuss this week's news and events through the lens of Bible prophecy.
You are listening to Canary Cry News Talk.
You're listening to Canary Cry News Talk. Today is December 7th, 2020. This is episode 273. And today, the Waccine Reptilians. They're coming for you, Gonz. And you know me, I am your best buddy, Basil.
And this is Gonz. Welcome to the podcast where we report the egregious while pointing to Jesus, where we will likely offend you because we can be facetious. Supplement your weekly news digestion with us so you can get a well-rounded, biblically grounded intake of world events.
Oh, man.
Boom.
Battle Rap Gonz is back in the house.
Watch out, Flippy.
I like it. I hope we keep doing that. Good job.
Well, I think I got to memorize that one.
Yeah, that's a good one. It caught me by surprise.
I know.
It's not very often that I'm caught by surprise.
Yeah.
Cool. Well, we're here. It's day one, Gonz. Day one of Vax Week.
Vax Week is here.
Waccine.
Yes.
Waccine.
Waccine.
That's right. If you haven't heard, this week is the week that the United Kingdom begins its national vaccination project. Oh, vaccination.
Vaccination. Oh, that's a documentary. There you go.
Yeah. So good. Well, our hearts and our thoughts and our prayers go out to our UK listeners. But hopefully you're here and you have not been transformed by the mRNA vaccine or whatever. If you have any boots on the ground reports, make sure to keep us posted. But we're going to be going through, in honor of Vax Week, we'll be checking in on the vaccines and the multiple companies and all the things, all the concerns, maybe, yes.
Yeah.
But before we do that, Gonz, any news to report?
From like personal life?
Mm-hmm.
Not really. Just more baby pooping and yeah. You know, there's a scene in The Mandalorian where Grogu, little baby Yoda, he like throws up this goo stuff.
Wait, he has a name?
Oh yeah. Oh, you haven't been keeping up, I see.
No, I haven't. I watched the first one of this season, and then I wanted to wait until there was more.
Okay, well, sorry if I ruined it for anybody. His name is Grogu.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
But there's a scene where he like throws up, and he has these this gooey thing come out. Pretty accurate with babies when you try to feed them. They just spit up all over, and I have lots of laundry. Lots of laundry going on at the house.
Oh, good.
Yeah.
What a great update. That's good to know. Nothing really exciting's happened over here. I've been just trying to take it easy after my trains, planes, and automobiles style Thanksgiving adventure. I'm just trying to just catch a breath for a second.
Nice. Yep, that's good.
Okay, well, first of all, we will start off the show by briefly touching on some of the most relevant election news. Gonz, what do you have for us?
I thought I had an election jingle. What happened to it? Where'd it go?
I don't know.
Well, anyway, yeah, I mean, I've been looking at the stuff. It's, again, I'm just kind of waiting. There's just no consensus amongst anybody. There's the right side of the aisle saying all the evidence is there, and the left side saying, look at all the stuff being thrown out of court, and nobody seems to know. I mean, nobody seems to understand exactly what is going on here. There's
willful ignorance on one side, and on the other side, who knows what's going on?
It's It's overly optimistic on one side, and overly, I don't even say, maybe pessimistic. Pessimistic is too dark. But
well, the strange thing to me with the whole, election fraud, voter fraud, two different things,
sure,
is that the story has not changed for about a week.
Yeah.
There hasn't been any new anything. It's been sort of on this repetitive cycle of the right coming out saying, look at all this evidence, the left going, this is baseless claims, there's no evidence. And then it just goes back and forth.
Well, I've noticed the media did start changing their language a little bit, because at first it was, and people have pointed this out, how they were saying there's absolutely no evidence to some, the discredited information. They're slowly starting to crack down a little bit, because there is some stuff coming out that seems to be pretty, I mean, the evidence itself, if you just looked at it face value objectively, it's like, yeah, probably some messing around going on, but there probably always has been. And this is the first time in the United States where we're really looking at it. And I think it's, I don't know. It's we'll just have to see what happens. I can't assess what is going to take place what the actual results are going to be, on January 20th or whatever.
You heard that, folks. Gonz doesn't know what the results are going to be. So
really, oh no,
oh my gosh,
yeah. But I'm sick and tired of seeing people say like, "Oh, president-elect," because it hasn't happened yet. But then I'm also tired of it's the trust the plan folks are really their backs are against the wall. They really got to come up with something to make sure that this thing keeps rolling, and because a lot of that stuff can be severely discredited if they if they fail to pull through with the courts and stuff. And I get it, there's a conspiring going on with the judges, and who knows what kind of stuff behind the scenes is going on for them to throw things out. You had talked about but a standing issue.
What new thing do you have? What's going on?
No, there is a new thing. There's nothing new.
What is this link that you have here?
Oh, that's for you. You told me to put that in there.
This is mine?
Yes.
Oh, this is mine.
And so my question is very direct. Is voting by mail secure?
I'm sitting here trying to lead you into an article that you haven't even read. I specifically told you not to read this because there's a fun game. Okay. I have a fun game to play here.
Sure.
This is an article from NBCnews.com, which you're going to love. And the headline is Michigan Secretary of State says armed protesters gathered outside her home. All right. Are you ready to play the game?
I'm ready.
I'm gonna read the article, and then we'll take it from there.
Okay.
Dozens of armed gathered. Dozens of armed gathered. What am I doing here?
I don't know.
Dozens of armed people. They're humans. Dozens of armed people gathered outside Michigan's Secretary of State Jocelyn Benson's home over the weekend, quote, shouting obscenities and threatening violence in an effort to overturn the presidential election results in the state, she said Sunday. Benson and her 4-year-old son had just finished decorating their home for Christmas and were about to watch How the Grinch Stole Christmas when the group arrived, she said in a statement. Quote, "The demands made outside my home were unambiguous, loud, and threatening," she said. "They targeted me in my role as Michigan's chief election officer. Quote, through threats of violence, intimidation, and bullying, the armed people outside my home and their political allies seek to undermine and silence the will and voices of every voter in this state, no matter who they voted for," she said. Gabriel Sterling, a top Republican elections official in Georgia, said last week that President Donald Trump's repeated false claims that the election was stolen from him had led to death threats, intimidation, and harassment. And then yada, yada, yada goes into, there's baseless assertions. Then it just goes into election news. So did you notice anything strange about this hard-hitting news report in those first couple paragraphs?
Well, they set it up because they wanted to make it seem like, oh, those horrible people trying to steal the election. There's also the Grinch that stole Christmas. Which,
I mean, what sort of evidence are we running with on this one?
Oh, there's nothing the actual people said.
The whole article is not about something that actually happened and any evidence to support that, or even really any witnesses or any strong assertions that it actually happened. The whole article, the whole news story is that who is this? Michigan Secretary of State Jocelyn Benson said that there were mean people outside their house.
I'm picturing
no video, no pictures, no audio, not even anybody else corroborating the story. Well, it's the whole article is this woman said that mean people were outside.
It could very well be somebody, they're putting up lights and someone drove by their house, rolled down the window, "Stop the steal!" And then she's like, unambiguous, loud, and threatening.
It could have, or who knows? It could have been anything. It doesn't even have to, usually if you're reporting an angry mob, if you, as a reporter, they're literally saying, Jocelyn said some mean people were outside. They didn't go out. They didn't ask anybody else. They didn't identify any of the people. They didn't. There's nothing. The whole thing is Jocelyn Benson said that there were mean people. And when she was baking cookies and watching The Grinch. Now, isn't that awful, everybody?
Well, I think they tried to make it horrible, too, because make it seem horrible because they brought in her kid. They mentioned her child, her 4-year-old son, just to make it seem like, those horrible Republican right-wingers ruining Christmas and my 4-year-old's Christmas dreams. Yeah.
So this is a baseless claim, Gonz.
Okay, so what's the game? What did you have an actual game?
No, that was the whole game. I just wanted to see if you could spot it.
Well, yeah, but I was hoping that you would. There was actual stuff that was
low
reported.
Expectations is the key to happiness, Gonz.
I guess I expected too much. Actual quotes from the mob.
No,
I thought you were gonna ABC. Multiple
it's
choice
expectations. You gotta not expect any evidence or really any reporting except for cutting and pasting a Facebook post from someone.
Yeah. Did you see the Biden walking through the
graveyard?
The graveyard. That's a little weird.
What was he doing? He was going to a church or something.
I put on Twitter caption this because I just wanted to see what people would come up with. There was a couple good ones. Somebody said like, "Oh, they're letting him choose his burial site," and stuff like that. I mean, that's pretty mean, but hey, he didn't seem to have a boot either.
Limp though.
Did he have a limp?
He was really selling that little baby limp. Yeah, because he has to prove that he actually broke his foot and wasn't wearing that boot just to hide an ankle bracelet. Right.
He was getting out of the shower and chasing dog tails or something, right? Some weird man, hairy legs. I actually, if he does get elected officially and he's in office, I want him to stay all 4 years just so we can be entertained by his commentary or his just speaking in public.
Oh, it's going to be hilarious.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Okay. Well, real quick, I got a very quick Flippy update for you.
Alrighty.
Flippy update.
Do you want fries with that?
Okay, folks, if you're new to the show, this is called the Flippy Update. Flippy is the colloquial name we have for the disembodied robot arms that are taking our jobs, enslaving our children, and flirting with our spouses. We use talking about Flippy as a proxy conversation to discuss how robotics and AI are taking over the world, whether we like it or not. And today, I've got a story from bc.ctvnews.california.
No, Canada. CA. Canada.
What did I say?
California.
Oh, yeah. Oh, weird. Yeah, of course that's Canada. So, yes, some Canadian news here. And the headline is Germicidal robots featured on Grey's Anatomy make their home at Fraser Health. Oh, well, Grey's Anatomy, we got to check out what this is. Let's see here. A fleet of TV star robots has joined the Fraser Health team to help combat COVID-19. The 14 germicidal irradiation robots target germs that linger on surfaces by emitting short pulses of ultraviolet light and made a recent cameo on Grey's Anatomy episode. Woo! Quote, the robots allow us to disinfect surfaces and high touch points in patient rooms. We also use it outside patient rooms in support rooms such as medication rooms, utility rooms, said Faoud Ibrahimov of Infection Prevention and Control at Fraser Health. The fleet cost $2 million to purchase, and frontline workers voted to name one of them Bonnie and the other one Henry in honor of BC's provincial health officer, Dr. Bonnie Henry. Creative. Through their pulses of ultraviolet light, the Xenex Light Strike germ-zapping robot damaged the DNA and RNA of harmful viruses and bacteria, including COVID-19, C. difficile, Candida auris, and more. Quote, the robots light up a room as they disinfect, removing viruses and bacteria in as little as 20 minutes, reads an announcement statement from Fraser Health. Yada, yada, yada. The rest of the stuff is nothing. So couple interesting points. These were robots that were first seen on Grey's Anatomy. So you've got some, a live action, what is this?
Drama?
No, a live action predictive programming happening.
Predictive programming, yeah.
Yes. It would not surprise me if this Xenex Light Strike germ zapping robot, the company, paid a hefty price to get on Grey's Anatomy to, put it on their media section of their website. So people are pretty stoked to have a TV star cleaning their hospital rooms with lights. I did find it interesting. We've talked about these zapping robots. Yeah, the ultraviolet light robots, even earlier on in the pandemic. These have been around for a while. But this was the first time that I had heard it described that the robots damaged the DNA and RNA of harmful viruses and bacteria. I'm kind of curious. I'm no scientist. I'm sure we've got some pros who listen to the show who can set me straight. How does the light know to kill the bad DNA and RNA of viruses and bacteria? And is it safe for human beings to get zapped by these robots?
Yeah, there's a couple things to mention here. First off, this thing looks like a mushroom, but also kind of like a Tesla coil. Yeah. And the light is super bright here, at least in the video they have. And
it's like a bug zapper. It probably kills all the mosquitoes in the room too.
Yeah, and it reminds me also of the in Men in Black. Remember the memory wipe?
Yeah,
it's kind of like that too. Super bright light. It's kind of like, oh, forget that you had a virus, or you thought you had a virus. And so I don't know. It's just a weird thing. And you mentioned how you don't remember them talking about these things destroying our DNA and RNA. But I think they did mention that before, that they basically destroy it. And I'm pretty sure we asked the same or similar question.
Yeah. Well, I think the idea is that they essentially won't be zapping people because they're used either after hours or in empty rooms. You can see a picture further down in the image gallery there where the light actually will retract into the robot as to not, expose anyone while it's traveling around.
Yeah. Yay.
Yeah.
Fantastic.
Well, there you go. TV star robots are here to damage your DNA.
Well, I'm sure. Yeah, that's one of those things. It was part of the whole packaging, making sure if people are like, "What is that?" They say, "Oh, it's the same thing you saw in Grey's Anatomy," and people go,
Grey's Anatomy. So
I want to be zapped by the Grey's Anatomy robot." Yeah. Okay.
Anyways, there you go. That's Flippy update.
All right, we got a bunch of updates here. I'll try to get through them quickly.
We interrupt this broadcast to give you a brief update. By the end of this timely interruption, you will be thoroughly updated.
33 is the number of completion of the Great War.
33 is the Illuminati dog whistle, and we always see 33 mentioned in headlines and all kinds of stuff. And we think it's some kind of elite signaling going on. And according to this article, Patch.com, Mike Turk won't seek re-election after 33 years in office. Do you know Mike Turk? Probably not.
Nope.
I didn't know Mike Turk.
No.
Joliet, Illinois. Rather than lose an uphill re-election bid, Joliet City Councilman Mark Turk announced on Sunday evening that he will not seek another 4-year term of office. He's been on the Joliet City Council since 1987. There you go. 33, they told him after year 33, get out. So there you go. I don't know if that's anything other than a headline, but maybe this guy's a Freemason. Who knows? He's in politics. There's a good chance that he's rubbed shoulders with the elite.
That is
dark
the place
secret
to
societies. Do it. Yeah. Another 33 update. As usual, we always see 33 with association with a number of cases. And, I feel like we see this a lot from the state of Ohio. Somebody maybe can go back and tally it, but this one's another one from Ohio, woub.org. Athens Co. confirms 33 COVID-19 cases for December 6th. So, for the
Athens Co. Is that Athens Company?
Yeah, I think so. No, Athens County.
Oh,
Athens County,
okay.
Yeah. 2,334 total cases of COVID-19 since the beginning of the pandemic, and 33 on Sunday. So
of course, all is going according to plan.
Gotta put it in the news. 33. Yeah. So anyway, interesting how they have to put 33 in there, and also report on what was it? What was this? Michigan Secretary of State saying people are yelling at them. Same level of reporting there. Okay, another one from this is RussiaToday.com. RT. This, Basil, we I don't know if people are listening to us and trying to, I don't know, man. RT.com. Russian authorities to investigate after forged negative COVID-19 test certificates.
Oh, no.
Found on sale for $33 each.
Oh, my gosh.
If you have been listening to our past episodes, we talked about the negative COVID, or at least the COVID-19 certificates, like the pieces of paper they're going to hand out, or little cards that say you got vaxxed.
Yeah.
And we were talking about how, hey, people out there, get ready, make the counterfeit.
Get your Photoshop ready.
Yeah, get your Photoshop ready. Make sure people have a copy of the thing. And then just to make things a little bit more interesting, sell it for $33 each.
Yeah, that's so funny. That is very suspicious because, yeah, I feel like if you were going to make, fake negative COVID-19 test certificates and sell them, I feel like you could charge much more than $33. That is definitely a signaling price.
Yeah, and also it is well, this is translated to 2,500 rubles, which is $33 each.
Wow.
Yeah, so
maybe I should order some of these.
Yeah, well,
it just arrives in Russian.
Just in case
I got a negative test. Look.
just in case you find yourself in Russia, Mother Russia.
I'd just say I got tested by Russians.
Oh, that'll be really... People will be very confident that you're negative. Okay, one more quick 33 update. And this one, NBCnews.com. And this is a little video / audio clip.
Tonight, 33 million Californians hours away from a lockdown.
There it is. 33 million Californians.
Wow.
I'm pretty sure California's population is a little bit more than that, or maybe it was 32.9 or something.
Yeah, well, there's like 10 million in LA alone.
No, 30. Okay, so in 2018, it was 39 million.
Yeah.
So what happened to the... Well, I know a bunch of people left, but did 6 million people leave?
Well, from what I've heard, the lockdown doesn't go into effect in every place in California.
Oh, just as long as it covers 33 million Californians.
Yes, they just picked that number and went with it. I was going to ask, how is the lockdown going? It's Vax Week in the UK, and California just had its lockdown start a couple days ago. Are you doing okay over there?
I don't notice anything different.
Yeah.
I don't think people are really buying it. I really think Newsom messed up with going to the French Laundry, and
so silly.
I think he messed it up. I think he messed up any kind of authority he had. There's a few people that are like, "Oh, Gavin's doing the right thing for us," and they're virtue signaling on Twitter or whatever. But I think for the most part, people are like, "Yeah, none of this makes any sense." So yeah, good thing. Even in California, folks, I know people bash California. But there's
people
at least
are waking
in my
up, man.
Yeah,
it took Californians a little bit longer, but they're starting to wake up.
Yeah, and we do have the clip and the story of the sheriff in.
I'll continue my my praise of sheriffs as the coolest law enforcement agencies in America.
Yeah, and we'll get there eventually in the actual Vax Week section. But for now, just remember. NBC News tells us 33 million Californians are prepared for lockdown. I think this scares other parts of the country more than the people here. The Californians are like, yeah, or whatever. And but then the other parts of the country are like, oh, the Californians are going on lockdown. Wear a mask.
From how I've heard it described, the lockdowns are not. It's not a stay-at-home order. It's a lockdown on businesses.
Well, it's supposed to be
economic lockdown.
Yeah, it's supposed to. Well, it's the effects of it. I think it is kind of a stay-at-home thing, but they're not making it. If you read the actual paper and everything, it's very loose on exactly what you're supposed to do, and so I don't know.
Yeah.
People aren't.
That's what I was reading too. It sounded like they're focusing on closing down businesses and restricting occupancy and stuff like that. But it's not like a strict don't come out of your house, no exercising allowed, no walking dogs, that kind of stuff. Yeah, like it was the first time around with the lockdowns.
Right. And also, we're going to move on from some of the 33 updates here. We have a Called It. And this is Reuters.com. Directed radio frequency plausible cause of Havana syndrome U.S. government report finds.
Wow, they're kind of coming out with some declassification or something?
Yeah, so this is interesting. Let me read a little bit of it. Directed, in quotes, radio frequency is the most plausible explanation for mysterious symptoms experienced by diplomats stationed in U.S. embassies in Havana and elsewhere, a U.S. government report said on Saturday. The symptoms appear, quote, to be consistent with the effects of directed, pulsed radio frequency energy, said the report by the National Academics of Sciences Engineering. Diplomats in some postings have been plagued with nausea, headaches, dizziness, and other unexplained symptoms. This Havana syndrome has long been the subject of intense speculation, given the nature of the symptoms, the location of the posting, and the silence of the U.S. government. And, of course, people like us and the conspiracy theorists were saying this was some kind of directed energy weapon or voice-to-skull technology ever since the beginning. We were like, oh, yeah, that's probably what it is.
Yeah, well, that's what I love about this. It's, directed energy, voice to skull, radio frequency weaponry being used, conspiracy theory. And now they're coming out and saying directed radio frequency is the most plausible explanation for mysterious. Like, yeah, that's what we're saying.
We've been saying it for
Where
a long
once
time.
it was conspiracy theory, now it is the most plausible explanation.
It's funny too, because on Twitter, I noticed that Reuters tweeted this out, like their official account. And a lot of the responses were like, what? What does that even mean? What are you talking about? It's like, come on, folks.
I feel like we're going to be getting a lot more of this in the next, who knows, maybe couple years, where they're just suddenly going to be talking about conspiracy theories just as the most plausible explanation. Because, I mean, from our point of view, these quote unquote conspiracy theories, they just are the most plausible explanation compared to official stories or, the mainstream narrative or whatever you want to call it. We don't talk about these theories because they're implausible. We talk about them because they are the most plausible explanation.
Occam's razor.
So I feel like we're gonna be hearing more and more of this.
Yeah. Speaking of stuff that we covered a long time ago,
Aliens.
This is jewishpress.com, and actually I'm seeing on Twitter Galactic Federation is trending because of this story.
Not again.
Not again. Former head of Israel's space program. The aliens asked not to be revealed. Humanity not yet ready. Ooh.
Oh, I've heard that before.
Yeah. Professor Haim Eshed served from 1981 to 2010 as the head of Israel's security space program, and over the years received the Israel Security Award 3 times, twice for confidential technological inventions. So if he went nuts, and this possibility is always open, it had to have happened over the past decade. Interesting way to put that. And the reason we think the good professor may have lost his marbles has to do with an interview he gave 7 days ago, the Shabbat edition of Yedioth Aharonoth, Israel's largest circulation 4-pay newspaper, in which he said, quote, aliens have asked not to announce that they are here. Humanity is not ready. And here's some of the quotes there. The UFOs have asked not to publish that they are here. Here's the thing that's funny. Isn't that exactly what you're doing by saying that? Aren't you basically saying that they're here?
Yeah.
Anyway, humanity is not ready. Trump was on the verge of revealing, but the aliens in the Galactic Federation are saying, wait, let the people calm down first. They don't want to start mass hysteria. They want to first make us sane and understand.
So it sounds like this guy is directly disobeying his Galactic Federation orders.
Yeah, he's gonna get zapped.
Watch out.
They have been waiting for humanity to evolve and reach a stage where we will generally understand what space and spaceships are. There's an agreement between the U.S. government and the aliens. They signed a contract with us to do experiments here. They, too, are researching and trying to understand the whole universe. Where I lost my spot. The whole fabric of the universe. And they want us as helpers, slaves. There's an underground base in the depths of Mars where their representatives are, and also our American astronauts. If I had come up with what I'm saying today 5 years ago, I would have been hospitalized. Wherever I've gone with this in academia, they've said the man has lost his mind. Today, they're already talking differently. I have nothing to lose. I've received my degrees and awards. I am respected in universities abroad where the trend is also changing. And it kind of goes on here and gets into some different things. Examples from entertainment and stuff like that. But here's the thing about this whole concept of the story about aliens, and especially coming out of Israel, is very fascinating. Because a little while ago, I think this was 2015, when I published this video, it was called ETs in Jewish Mysticism, How an Alien Savior Can Arise in Modern Judaism. And I'll play a little clip here from Rev Michael Lightman. And we've played it before. I've played it multiple times on various occasions. But it's good to revisit, especially if you're new. You may have not caught this back in 2015 when we were looking at it. And this is actually translated, so you're listening to the translator talk. And so let me just play about a minute or so of what this guy, Rabbi Michael Lightman, says about aliens.
Okay.
We have to wake up. We have to remember that we have a special mission. And really, this isn't our place. We're coming from a completely different place. So we have to find our friends according to this awakening. Did you get a phone call? I got a phone call. He got a phone call, and so on. And then we gather as a group. So from this entire planet, we are aliens. We're coming from a different galaxy. We received this ray of light, this awakening, individually, and now we're gathering as groups, starting to prep ourselves to conquer Earth.
Okay. Did you catch that, Basil?
We're trying to conquer Earth?
Yes. So according to Rabbi Michael Lightman, the Israelites, the Jewish people, are the aliens. They are the aliens that came from... Let me continue on here because he talks about some more here.
That's the mission. What? You don't see it?
How do we conquer it?
How do we conquer it? We're also sent the method. We're being shown everything gradually. We're being taught. Not taught, but kind of being trained, activated. And then that emotion and mind awakens in us. But in fact, it's new to us, but in fact, it's coming from our original planet. And thanks to that original natural force we have, we will take over. We'll take over those living on Earth.
So,
whoa! What event is he speaking at? What is this? What is the purpose of this?
It's some conference thing he was doing in front of. It's a big crowd too. This is back in 2014. It's called Israeli Nation Lesson with Rabbi Michael Lightman. And it's a whole press room. It's not just like a little thing.
He's a rabbi who's claiming that the Jewish people are aliens sent to conquer the earth?
Yep.
Wow.
So
he couldn't get away with that in 2020.
Well, he can either get away with it or it's going to be, the big thing. And I happen to think that maybe part of all this, even this guy coming out and starting to talk about it, this, what's his name? Professor Haim Eshed. More and more people are talking about it, and it all seems to surround Israel. And there's got to be something there. There's got to be something where, because one of the early theories when I first started looking into all this, and I ran into L.A. Marzulli's work and discovered Derek Gilbert's work, and just early on, when I was trying to make sense of this whole alien thing, the conversation was, how is there ever going to be like a one world religion? How are people going to go? It's not Catholicism. You can't just, they're not going to be, oh, hey, all of a sudden all these Muslims are going to turn to Catholics. But the alien conversation is sort of a thing that levels the playing field, right? Everyone has to sort of abide if there's some kind of hard proof about aliens and we come from the stars and whatever. If that narrative somehow is proven to the world, then all monotheistic religions kind of collapses into this alien idea. Right. And the Vatican's been on top of it for decades with their, they have their Lucifer telescope and stuff like that. Islam has interestingly, they have their eschatology, and it's not precisely aliens, but they kind of have that, the echoes of even biblical eschatology that would align with it. So I'm just saying, and especially at this time when we're starting to vaccinate everybody, and it's starting to look like not a mandatory vaccine quite yet in verbiage anyway.
Yeah.
But it's possible in the next few decades, people are really genetically messed up to the point where, release the aliens, because a lot of people are genetically changed, So I don't know, just something to throw out there. I'm not saying this is hard evidence.
No,
but
that's very interesting. I don't know if I had heard that guy before, but I'm sorry, I'm referring to the guy who's saying Jews are aliens. Yeah. But no, this is interesting. And again, this isn't just any old guy talking about, aliens exist and they're waiting and they're here to teach us, et cetera, et cetera. He was the head of the Israeli space program for like 30 years or something, right?
Yeah. This guy, the Professor Haim Eshed. So I really think they're preparing the masses for a quote unquote disclosure of some kind. And the narrative has been put in movies and TV shows. It's if you watch the beginning of Prometheus, there's like an alien being. He drinks this black goo, and he dies and falls into the river, and the evolution took place, and that's where humanity is from. If you watch the movie Lucy, at the end of the movie, Lucy. Basically this black goo comes out of a supercomputer and they merge and apotheosis and, they become gods. And it's like the narrative is just there in our face over and over and over again. And now, as we mentioned and have mentioned before, it's all sort of like documentaries, all these science fiction shows are just documenting what they plan to do or what they want to do. And so I'm not saying that that's how it's going to play out, but very interesting story.
It's certainly one big step towards some sort of disclosure.
Yeah. Crazy disclosure.
Okay, Gonz. Well, I think in honor of Vax Week over there in the UK, I think we should talk about the vaccines a little bit.
Waccine.
A pandemic special.
Okay, we're going to start out. If I can load this article. There we go. So let's start out with this article from independent.co.uk, coming straight from the source, baby. Now, we've talked a lot about the Pfizer vaccine, which is the one that the UK will be implementing starting this week. And so let's hear a little bit about this whole situation. The article is titled Coronavirus Vaccine, Pfizer Given Protection from Legal Action by UK Government.
No.
Okay. Oh, no. The UK government has granted pharmaceutical giant Pfizer a legal indemnity, protecting it from being sued, enabling its coronavirus vaccine to be rolled out across the country as early as next week.
This was last week. It's about 4 or 5 days old. So yeah.
Got it. Yeah. So this week, the Department of Health and Social Care has confirmed the company has been given an indemnity protecting it from legal action as a result of any problems with the vaccine. Ministers have also changed the law in recent weeks to give new protections to companies such as Pfizer, giving them immunity from being sued by patients in the event of any complications. They just repeated themselves 3 times.
That's what I was going to say.
That's crazy.
That's some crazy pounding mind control.
It really is. 3 times the charm. NHS staff providing the vaccine as well as manufacturers of the drug are also protected. Wow. Everybody all the way down to the bottom, from the top to the bottom, is protected. The vaccine will be made available to anyone over the age of 16, but will not be available to pregnant women because of the lack of data about how it could affect them and the baby. An ongoing trial is looking at this. The Pfizer BioNTech vaccine was authorized by the Medicines and Healthcare Products Regulatory Agency on Tuesday under Regulation 174 of the Human Medicine Regulations 2012, which allows an unlicensed medication to be used in an emergency such as a pandemic. It also has the effect of granting civil immunity to Pfizer after the government changed the regulations following a short 3-week consultation in September. In a press conference with journalists on Wednesday, Ben Osborne, Pfizer's UK managing director, refused to explain why the company needed an indemnity. No kidding. He said, quote, "We're not actually disclosing any of the details around any of the aspects of that agreement and specifically around the liability clauses." Well, that's totally fine, everybody. Don't ask questions. We're not going to answer them.
That's really egregious.
That's maybe the most worrying sentence I've read in a while.
It's like, you can't sue us, and we won't tell you why.
And we won't tell you why we need protection from you.
Oh, this is horrible.
Yikes.
We laugh, but it's bad. Yeah.
Asked about when the full data on the vaccine's clinical trial would be published, the company said this was still being worked on. Okay, good. More non-answers from Pfizer.
I like how they don't publish the clinical trials, but they're rolling out the vaccines first.
They don't publish the clinical trials. They don't publish the documents on their indemnity. They don't publish anything. Here's a vaccine. Get it if you're a good person, and if you don't, go away. Dr. Berkeley Phillips, medical director for Pfizer UK, said, quote, the publication is in progress. The priority absolutely had to be the regulatory submissions to MHRA, EMA, and the FDA. That was the most important thing we needed to do. The full protocol is published and available for everyone to see, and the team are working on the publication of the manuscript in parallel to the regulatory submissions. Notice how they're so proud that the protocol is published, just not the data, the results. The chief executive of the Medicines and Healthcare Products Regulatory Agency, speaking at a separate briefing on Wednesday, said no corners had been cut in the safety analysis of the vaccine.
Oh, that's good.
Except for the usual, 4 years it takes to do the testing. Other than cutting it down by 3.5 years, no corners have been cut. Did you have something to say?
No, continue, please.
June Rain said, quote, this recommendation has only been given by the MHRA following the most rigorous scientific assessment of every piece of data. So that meets the required strict standards of safety and effectiveness of quality. Quote, we've also reviewed and agreed the prescribing information so that the public and healthcare professionals are very clear and can be very confident that the vaccine is being used in the correct way, understanding what's involved. That's a funny way of saying we included instructions with the vaccine.
Yeah.
She said that National Institute for Biological Standards would be independently testing every single vaccine that goes out. Wow. To ensure that it meets safety standards, the Department of Health and Social Care confirmed an indemnity was in place for Pfizer and added that the government would be adding the coronavirus vaccine to the list of vaccinations covered by the Vaccine Damages Payment Act. This pays out a one-off 120,000 pound payment to people who are permanently disabled or harmed as a result of a listed vaccination. So there you go. Don't worry if you become a quadriplegic because of this vaccine, you'll get 120,000 pounds, which should pay for about 6 months of your physical therapy. Wow. So there you go. This doesn't actually come as a surprise, but it's just good to put it on record. Not only that it is, of course, they have legal indemnity from being sued, as most vaccine companies already do in the U.S., but that, when a problem occurs, you will get the meager amount, the lowest possible payment that they could legally get away with.
Yeah, and this just hit the news, I guess, about an hour ago. According to the New York Times, Trump administration officials passed when Pfizer offered in the summer to sell the U.S. more coronavirus vaccine doses. People familiar with the matter said, which is always kind of whatever. Now Pfizer may not be able to provide more doses to the U.S. until next June. Oh,
no.
Lockdown forever. So there you go. That's
wow.
Yeah, again, not surprising, but man, this type of thing, this is why, and a lot of vaccine companies have had protections like this. And I'm glad we're putting it on record because it should alarm anybody, even your normie friends. It should at least put a little rock in their shoe, just a little skepticism, knowing that they can't be legally held accountable for anything.
And Gonz, it's been a while since I've done the research on the vaccine courts where you can, try to get your meager payment if a vaccine really screws you up. My understanding is that that's not actually paid for by the company, that it's a government organization.
Right. Yeah.
So if a vaccine made by Pfizer does something horrible to you, you can't sue Pfizer, but you can sort of appeal to the vaccine courts and get some sort of compensation. But I believe, if I remember correctly, which I could be incorrect, but if I remember correctly, it's taxpayer dollars paying for the mess ups of the vaccine company, which, again, in America, that's also not very surprising.
How much was the little fund they have? Haven't they spent like 4.5 billion already?
Yeah, it's been over 4 billion over a few decades, which is surprisingly small.
It is small, and I think it's very difficult to even get that money. You have to really they put you through the rigmarole.
It takes years.
Yeah, it takes years, and it's very selective on who they give the money to. Because if they give it to the wrong person,
it's like insurance too. You know, they'll nitpick every little detail and protocol to make sure that they don't have to give you money.
Well, I'm sure if we get unwittingly jabbed and there's some complication with you and I, Basil, we're not going to get the government bailout money.
No compensation for us.
They'll take a look at our social media history and they will say, "No, we hope you die." That'll be their take. But yeah. Okay, so more along the Waccine trail. 666. Oh yeah. NewYorkPost.com. De Blasio urges New Yorkers to embrace COVID-19 vaccine at Bronx church service. Okay, so here's what it says. Yeah.
What is he doing talking at a church service?
I don't know. The devil may be in the details, but he's not in the coming coronavirus vaccine. A Bronx City Councilman and Mayor Bill de Blasio said during a Sunday church service, vowing to show New Yorkers the shot is nothing to fear. Quote, "I know there's some people that are afraid," said Democratic Councilman Fernando Cabrera during services at the New Life Outreach International Church, which he also serves as pastor. Quote, "I want to tell everybody you're not getting the 666 in this vaccine, okay?" He continued, invoking.
Did he really say the 666?
Yeah, that
sounds like he had some researcher try to explain it to him before he had to speak.
Sounds like he doesn't read the Bible.
People don't even read their Bible, for heaven's sakes.
The 666?
Yeah.
I don't know. He continued, invoking the biblical number of the beast. Invoking, eh? Quote, "I want to tell you straight up, there is no 666. There's no conspiracy. I'll be the first one to get it if I'm allowed to." Yay.
Yeah,
Cabrera sang the shot's praises at the Morris Avenue Church one day after the Post reported bombshell survey findings that more than half of city firefighters would refuse the vaccine. He then brought on de Blasio, repeatedly urging the sleepy Sunday morning crowd to make some more noise after his zoner was greeted with muted applause.
Please clap.
Yeah. To assure the flock that healthiness is next to godliness. Quote,
"Oh my gosh.
In a matter of days, the first vaccine arrives in New York City," said de Blasio, seemingly volunteering himself and Cabrera to demonstrate that the vaccine is not harmful. "When it's our turn, council member, you and I will be there together and we'll show people that it's safe and that it's going to bring us forward," he said. A City Hall spokesman.
What do you mean bring us forward?
Bring us forward to highly evolved transhuman alien reptiles.
Cause a mass evolution and we will ascend as light beings.
A City Hall spokeswoman confirmed in a statement that de Blasio would indeed take the shot publicly in order to build confidence in its safety. As the mayor indicted today, he will take the vaccine in a public setting with community leaders to show New Yorkers that it's safe and effective. Sorry, I'm rushing through here. The polls boosted the vaccine in the wake of a new survey of 2,053 members of the Uniformed Firefighters Association Union and found 55% would not get the potentially life-saving shot. The overall number of responses accounts for about a quarter of the UFA's total membership. The skepticism extends to the general public, with 20% of New Yorkers saying it in a recent Department of Health poll that they would not get the vaccine, and 27% saying they are unsure. There you go. More about Pfizer and blah, blah, blah. But yeah, there you go. They're trying to really, this, again.
To Blasio, this vaccine doesn't have the 666 in it.
I'm very appalled. Maybe I shouldn't be. I mean, nothing surprises me anymore.
Kind of insulting that he would try to make this case and do it so poorly.
Do it poorly, and also, well, that was the pastor there of the church that actually said that, Cabrera. It wasn't de Blasio himself, but I mean, I'm sure de Blasio was like, "Hey, you got to tell him. You got to tell him
it's the 666.
It's not the devil." But yeah, it's alarming to me, and it should be alarming to everybody out there that's, again, skeptical of this whole thing, normie friends, whatever, that all these politicians are like, "Oh, hey, here, let me take the vaccine first. Look at me. Nothing's going to happen."
Yeah.
That in itself should be...
As if anybody buys it.
Yeah. It's just weird. It's a weird thing. And it should raise more skepticism, not less.
You know what it is? It's more of a virtue signaling than it is anything else.
Totally.
Because to the people who are already bought in and want to get the first round of the vaccine and are they're camping out in front of the vaccine dispensary like it's a new iPhone. I'm choking on myself.
You got they zapped you with the Rona.
Oh, too much spit. For those people who are already into it, they're like, "Oh, look, he's such a good politician. He's going to take it to convince all those Trump supporters that they should take it." When in fact, it literally, I would be willing to bet that there's not a single person who wasn't planning on getting the vaccine that is convinced by that.
That would be a great sociological paper, a few years from now. Somebody studying sociology, see how much this campaign of politicians actually changed the minds of the people.
Yeah.
I would say very little.
These politicians, I think they're realizing that they don't really change the minds of anybody. They're more of a product, I feel like, because a politician, what do? They say what they got to say to get elected. They don't say something to change other people's minds. They're just saying what polling and their researchers say is a good thing to say to keep getting elected. And I feel like that's one of the things that kind of irks me the most is when somebody's like, "Oh, I love this politician." You don't say. Here's what you don't hear. What you do hear is, "Oh, I love that politician. He's just saying what we're all thinking." You hear that.
Yeah.
But you don't hear, "Oh, I just love that politician. He's saying new things that I've never thought of before and has really changed my mind."
Yeah, that almost never happens, and I'd be surprised if it ever does happen. But
you know who changes minds?
Who?
Podcasters.
Oh, you know who changed my mind?
Who?
Santa Claus.
Oh no.
Merry Christmas.
Jeez.
Express.co.uk. Santa to get COVID vaccine first so he can deliver Christmas gifts. Van Tam tells children.
What?
Are you convinced?
Oh, Santa's getting the vaccine now?
Yeah.
Well, if Santa gives it, then I gives it. That's hilarious.
Oh, I know. This is let's see. Jennifer from St. Albans told Professor Jonathan Van Tam that her 3 children have been asking if Father Christmas will get the coronavirus vaccine. Professor
I don't think
Van
they're
Tam,
calling him Father Christmas.
Yeah, Professor Van Tam stated that the Joint Committee on Vaccination and Immunization has made special consideration for Santa.
Wow.
Speaking on the BBC, caller Jennifer said, okay, so they're just reiterating the whole point there.
Now, that's kind of sick. That does come across as a little sick to me.
Yeah, this is the Deputy Chief Medical Officer for England saying, "Oh, it's okay, children. Santa will get the vaccine. He'll be all
Wow.
right.
That's pretty crazy. That is some mind control to the highest order.
Yeah, you know how people always say, "Oh, you're lying to your children about Santa." How about lying to your children to the degree to get, to accept the vaccine? It's a whole different level of craziness. And you better be good.
The kids who don't believe in Santa, they're going to be they're the rebels.
I know,
but they're also naughty.
Yeah, so they're being watched.
Yeah.
Okay, there you go.
Okay, let's move on.
Moving on.
Oh man, that's probably the most depressing part of the show right there. Santa's getting his vax to make sure the kids get it.
That's the dip right there.
Yeah. As if Santa. Sorry.
No, go ahead. As if
Santa could make a children like getting a needle jabbed into them any more than they hate it.
Hey, Johnny, Santa got it, so can you. Oh, okay, Mommy, I guess so.
All right, one last Waccine story here.
Oh, wait, my whole thing with the pointing out the kids was to play this clip here.
We're taking things that are genetically modified organisms and we're injecting them in little kids' arms. We just shoot them right into the vein. Right into the vein.
Little kids' arms.
Yeah. He's sick.
Yeah.
All right. Waccine time.
And Waccine.
Okay, lastly, coming from thehill.com here, employers debate whether to require COVID-19 vaccine for workers. And this might be the most important part of the conversation here because, of course, we know that the economic lockdowns are the most brutal part of this whole thing. And let's get into some more public manipulation here. Companies will soon face a tough decision.
Sorry. The video started auto-playing, and I think it reads the article, so it defeated the purpose of having you around.
Oh, no. Companies will soon face a tough decision about whether to require their employees to get vaccinated for COVID-19 as a condition for returning to work. Oh, man. I've never been so happy to be a podcaster. New polling shows that nearly 60% of Americans said they would get the vaccine, up from 50% in September, but still far below the amount needed to fuel a robust economic recovery. Notice how it's just about the economic recovery and not protecting us against COVID-19. Employers believe they are on firm legal ground to mandate vaccinations, but that doesn't mean enforcement won't be without its challenges, particularly given the backlash in some parts of the country to mask mandates and smaller groups opposed to vaccinations of any kind. Quote, companies can require it, yes, but they may bump up against legal limits. COVID is such uncharted territory that as we see employers acting, as we see others acting, more edges in the law are being articulated, said Allison Hoffman, stated like a true lawyer, University of Pennsylvania Carey Law School professor. Some business groups are starting to get out in front of the issue by voicing public support for vaccination requirements. See, this is the problem when you get corporations supporting the government in this way. It really screams as like the two slave masters are colluding to make sure everybody obeys. Jay Timmons, CEO of the National Association of Manufacturers, stressed that the vaccine is needed to protect essential personnel. Interesting. It's the Association of Manufacturers. Don't they know it's all going to be robots like in 2 years? Anyways, robots don't need a vaccine. Jay Timmons, CEO of the National Association of Manufacturers, stressed that the vaccine is needed to protect essential personnel, including manufacturing workers, and that his group would back member companies implementing vaccination requirements. Quote, while there are likely legal concerns with blanket mandates, if any of our members believed that a requirement at their company was the right thing to do, we would certainly support that within the bounds of the law, because America's future depends on folks rolling up their sleeves in a new way. Timmons told The Hill. The legal limits that employers could run up against are related to the American Disabilities Act, the ADA, and Title VII of the Civil Rights Act of 1964, which allow for employee vaccination exemptions under certain health and religious reasons. The Equal Employment Opportunity Commission in March said an employer covered by the ADA and Title VII can't compel all of its employees to take a vaccine. Quote, the commission continues to closely monitor the developments of a COVID-19 vaccine and is actively evaluating how a potential vaccine would interact with employers' obligations under the Americans with Disabilities Act, Title VII of the Civil Rights Act of 1964, and other laws the commission enforces. Christina Sa Nazir, an EEOC spokeswoman, told The Hill. President-elect Joe Biden, weighed in on the debate this past week, though not about workers specifically. Quote, I don't think it should be mandatory. I wouldn't demand it to be mandatory, Biden said at a news conference in Wilmington, Delaware, just like I don't think masks have to be made mandatory nationwide. Quote, I'll do everything in my power as President of the United States to encourage people to do the right thing, and when they do it, demonstrate that it matters. But what if they don't do it, Joe? What are you going to do then? Barry Furrow, director of the health law program at Drexel University Klein School of Law, said employers can mandate vaccinations at their peril. Quote, employers can say, we can do it, but they'd be foolish to do it in the face of resistance. Our culture is so resistant to being told what to do, he said. Amen. Delta CEO Ed Bastian predicted that getting the COVID-19 vaccine will become a requirement for international travel, but that, for now, the airline will just encourage its employees to get it. Oh, yikes. Quote, we're going to strongly encourage that airline employees get all vaccinated, yada, yada, yada. Okay, let's see here. I think we're just going to be hearing the same thing from a bunch of different business leaders. Quote, I think a lot of this will come down to how aggressive employers are with mandates. How are people feeling about the vaccine? How much time will there be for people to get comfortable with the vaccine? I think if employees feel safe, it will reduce the expansionary effect, Hoffman said. Rob Wilson, president of Employco USA and human resources expert, said employees should expect some companies, especially large corporations or frontline industries, to require they get the vaccine. It's a serious liability, this is a quote, not just financially, but also when it comes to alerting your staff and customers, making sure you're doing your due diligence to protect everyone under your company umbrella, Wilson said. He added that company-sponsored injection sites and reminders about taking a vaccine by a certain date are likely to start popping up soon. The head of the Consumer Brands Association, which has asked the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention for vaccine priority for its industry, said he is optimistic that requiring workers in the consumer packaged goods industry to take the vaccine won't be necessary. Quote, based on flu clinic participation, we are optimistic about industry employees' desire to receive the vaccine, hopefully offsetting any need for a mandate, said Jeff Freeman, the association's CEO. Quote, that being said, we're in the first inning with the vaccine and we expect confidence to grow significantly as more information is provided over the coming months. I think that's just about it. The U.S. plans to immunize 100 million people by the end of February, a number based on the number of vaccines that could be available from Moderna and Pfizer BioNTech. Former presidents Barack Obama, George W. Bush, and Clinton are offering to receive vaccinations on camera to build public trust. Ooh. So there you go, Gonz. There is people or these industry leaders sound pretty confident that they can mandate vaccines, or at least be sufficiently convincing.
Protected legally.
Yeah.
This is problematic in the economic front here, not just because look at the walls closing in here. You had small businesses being destroyed because of the lockdowns, And now you have people that are actually employed by some of these bigger companies being forced to make decisions about their health. My body, my choice, except for when you get a jab.
Right.
And they're going to be, the social stigma is going to be just as bad. It already is. But I just, man, this is just really, because people are going to not want to work. There's going to be a lot of people quitting, their jobs, and unemployment is probably going to get worse before it gets better here. But I really think that part of, and connecting it to the whole, reptilian idea here, the changing of the genetics, maybe not a direct change of the DNA, but we just don't have enough information about how this affects us in generations from now. And clearly there's been a rise in autism, and there have been some studies that show a connection to vaccines as part of the reason why we are increasing in that problem.
Uh-oh, Gonz. You're getting in bannable territory now.
I know. And the percentage, and again, it goes into this idea of like, hey, if we can get a whole bunch of people to genetically be worse off than they were before, and not just with vaccines either. It's our food. I mean, clearly our food is genetically modified already.
Right.
So I just think if you're considering in the context or the framework of how do you control populations and how do you do it without some kind of overt war, you can't just like kill them all. You got to get them to accept it. This would be a perfect way. Put out a faulty virus out there, and then
you're going all the way to the top, to the depopulation plan, huh?
We should invite fewer people to be born.
That's the idea.
That's the idea.
So
yeah. Well, in the context of this, can companies mandate the vaccine, or will they? Versus kind of making the government do it. I see this as sort of a round one of testing mandates. I kind of feel at this point, the government isn't going to come right out and mandate the vax right away. I've never really thought that they were going to do that. At least
they couldn't. In our, at least in America, it would be very difficult for the government to do that.
I mean, they kind of do already at some points. They can't like show up at your house legally and do that. Although, in a state of emergency, they have all sorts of legal rights that they usually don't have. But, the round one would be, hey, get the corporations. It's you can either work or don't get vaxxed. You can't have both, right?
Right.
But what this does open up in an interesting way, considering in the legal liability arena, if something bad does happen from the vaccine, especially on the first round, it's the first round of a rushed vaccine is sketchy on its own. I mean, take away all the other stuff, just the fact. Even if you're a vaccine lover, a rushed vaccine, a first round of a rushed vaccine, it has a certain amount of risk that can't be denied. And so given the fact that the vaccine companies are indemnified from any legal action, if a corporation does mandate their people, get vaccinated or you're fired type of situation, I'm really curious if this opens up those corporations to liability. Because
they're probably, it's probably going to have to be. It'll be tough. Because companies can fire you for many different reasons, and it doesn't have to be anything that.
But they also can't fire you for many different reasons.
True. That's true.
They can't just fire you for no reason.
Yeah.
And if they do, you can get a settlement on that.
Yeah.
And so that'll be interesting to see if there's some vaccine, anti-vax people. Maybe they'll claim Title VII or ADA or something like that, where they don't have to get vaccinated. And then who knows? We'll see. I have a feeling that it's going to take about a year for some sort of mandate to come around.
Yeah. Plus, I think companies can kind of get away with the remote work situation that we have now, where, companies are still in business, but a lot of people aren't meeting in offices. They're doing remote work. And why would you need to get a vaccine if you can just call in from home?
Sure.
All your meetings
that's a good point. So, that's a really good point. If you're working from home, why would you even bother?
So it's kind of like it's a vax to come work or, stay home, slave.
Yeah. N. Numati in the Twitch chat, who is a microbiologist by trade, who's very educated on these things, says, Basil, as a rational thinking scientist, I think you may be underestimating the vaccine side effects, which, I hadn't taken that into consideration. But what I'm saying is I agree. I think that taking this vaccine carries a lot of risks. I would be curious to see the types of numbers that these corporations are running, because if you mandate a vaccine for all your employees and then all your employees are out for 3 days because of the side effects,
they're all getting sick.
Which you've basically got to shut down your own company for 3 days.
Yeah. Yeah, that is a good point. That's interesting. Maybe they hadn't considered that. That'll backfire.
And it'd have to be paid. They'd have to be giving everybody paid leave.
Yeah, the backfire. Can't keep the people down.
Yeah.
I moved this story, Basil, if you saw this, my quick rant here. I moved it up because I think it's good before we get into our little good news and into the break. So let me just do it quickly here. And this is just another one of those pandemic special situations.
A pandemic special.
And it's also concerning science being truth.
Science is truth.
Which is not a scientific statement. And I tweeted this whole thread out, and I'll go through it very quickly here, because I think this is, and please use this as ammunition when you talk to your normie friends or people that are buying into the vaccine in general, because the vaccine is supposed to be a solution, right? We're already at the solution stage. But you got to look back and think about what brought us here. And part of it is problem and then reaction. We've talked about the PCR test or the PCR process multiple times on this show, and other people have brought it up all over the place. But this is something I think people need to share with friends and family more, because people always, and we hear it on the news, we see it on TV, we see it with friends and family. Oh, just listen to the science. Oh, it's science. Just listen to the science. Lockdown, it's the science. Wear a mask, oh, it's the science. The virus, oh, it's the science. And my whole thing has been there is no consensus amongst scientists, and that's been a fact throughout all of history.
Yeah.
And so I wanted to go through this real quick because there was a group, an international consortium of scientists, 22 of them, issued a retraction request to Eurosurveillance on November 27th, 2020.
Ooh, Eurosurveillance.
So Eurosurveillance was the journal that supplied the paper to the World Health Organization that brought PCRs all over the world to start, testing for the virus, for coronavirus. It was like the justification paper, like, oh yeah, look at this. This is how we can identify who has the virus. And they outlined 10, quote, fatal problems with the initial report, again, that was used by the World Health Organization to justify worldwide PCR, quote unquote, testing of COVID-19. And the paper says that the original manuscript suffer from numerous technological and scientific errors, including insufficient primer design, problematic and insufficient RT-Q PCR protocol, in the absence of an accurate test validation. Neither the presented test nor the manuscript itself fulfills the requirements for an acceptable scientific publication. I mean, that's pretty hardcore for a group of scientists to come out and say it. And the original paper is the Corman-Drosten paper. You can go to cormandrostenreview.com and you can get all the information where I was pulling this from. And so let me go through a couple of the things they pointed out as the problem here. One of them, the authors of the original report did not have an actual sample or sequence of the COVID-19 virus. Instead, they based their findings on a theoretical sequence of the virus supplied by a lab in China to come up with their PCR methodology. So instead of using like the actual sequence, virus, like the strain, they used a theoretical sequence that was supplied to them by some random lab in China.
Really?
That's not very good science.
So the PCR is not even based on a real organic sequence, DNA sequence that they're searching for. It's just something China gave us.
The original, the original study that justified PCR all over the world was not based on the actual COVID-19 strain there. And this is straight out of their document. They said, quote, "We aim to develop and deploy robust diagnostic methodology for use in public health laboratory settings without having virus material available." They admitted in the paper, "Oh, we don't have any of the virus material, but here's what you can do to identify the virus." What? That doesn't make any sense. Okay. Second, I'll skim through this real quick, but basically they said, quote, this is the rebuttal, "The functionality of the published RT-PCR test was not demonstrated with the use of a positive control, isolated SARS-CoV-2 RNA, which is an essential scientific gold standard." So, in other words, they didn't provide any examples of the test actually identifying SARS-CoV-2. Mm-hmm. The bats they used as sort of the origin of it were from Europe, not China. And the other part of the flaw was that the gene that they used, and I'm not a scientist, I'm not a biologist, I'm just reading what they published here and reporting it to you. According to them, the scientists that rebutted this, the target gene to identify SARS-CoV-1 and 2 was so broad that it detects a variety of SARS viruses. And they actually stated, quote, "This is another major design flaw which classifies the test as unsuitable for diagnosis." Unsuitable.
Yeah.
These are sciences. Let me run through here. PCR. We've heard a lot about the PCR tests and the cycles. They basically confirm the idea that anything over 35 cycles is not good. They've even cited other reports or articles that suggest that anything over 35 cycles is only detecting dead viruses. And the WHO, the World Health Organization, recommends 45 cycles. So there you go. It's ridiculous.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
The PCR test is something that people, or not the test, the process. People have pointed that out about the cycles, and the paper even included a mention, a historical false quote outbreak of a respiratory illness back in 2004 to 2006 due to faulty PCR application. So it's almost like they had a test run of this back in 2004 to 2006. This is a PubMed.gov article titled "Outbreaks of Respiratory Illness Mistakenly Attributed to Pertussis," which I think is like the whooping cough, New Hampshire, Massachusetts, and Tennessee, 2004 to 2006. And it was because of the PCR that they were that they falsely said, "Oh, there's an outbreak," but it wasn't.
Yeah, that was the funniest part about this whole stream that you put together here was the PCR test, as they call it, already caused a false scare of a pandemic.
Right.
Like 15 years ago.
Yeah. So, yeah, they have a model to go off of. They probably thought, "Oh, this worked, so let's just go with it a little more."
Yeah.
The original report did not provide an SOP, that's a standard operating procedure. So that means laboratories can do whatever they want. There's no basis to which there's no standard, which is another problem. And it gets really egregious here. According to those 22 scientists, the original report was not peer reviewed. So they submitted the paper on January 21st and it was published by the 23rd, which is pretty quick for a scientific paper to go through. And this is them. They stated, quote, 24 hours are simply not enough to carry out a thorough peer review. Any molecular biologist familiar with RT-PCR design would have easily observed the grave errors present in the Corman-Drosten paper. And there was even a conflict of interest that they pointed out.
Wow.
Two authors of the Corman-Drosten paper, Christian Drosten and Chantal Ruskin, are also members of the editorial board of this journal. So, hello, yeah, if you're on the editorial board...
Conflict of interest, anyone?
If you're on the editorial board submitting papers, you might have a little advantage to get the paper
Real.
through.
And just to get my own self straight here, you're saying this was the paper that was instrumental in getting the PCR test sort of approved as the test for coronavirus,
standardized across the world, at least from the World Health Organization.
Peer-reviewed.
Yeah.
They didn't use an actual isolated, sequence for the virus.
No.
They gave 24 hours for peer review, and one of the guys who wrote it was on the board for the journal.
Yeah. So
okay.
Problems.
Yeah, this sounds legit.
It sounds legit. And they also mentioned that the original paper said that they had 4 false positives out of 310 tests. And if you apply the same percentage, which is like 1.6 or 7% or something like that, if you apply the same percentage to the number of PCR, quote unquote, tests that have been done on Americans, you're talking about 2.3 million tests that could be a result of false positives. Yeah.
Wow.
So that's a lot. 2.3 million is a lot. And the scientists suggest that that's a low number, that there's probably a lot more than this low percentage here.
Right.
And the last thing, they talked about lockdowns, and this is where it goes into the sheriff's clips here. But they basically stated that lockdowns are, quote, increasingly bizarre and illogical restrictions. Those are their words. And they talked about how it's only going to cause more inhumane treatment of the populace, especially the elderly, reprehensible economic damage, and, quote, loss of democracy and human rights. These are scientists saying that lockdowns will cause loss of democracy and human rights. For anybody that, and if you have friends or family, listen to the scientists. Well, that's what they said. These scientists, anyway.
Yeah.
And so, again, is there a strain of like a flu-like thing out there? Sure. Is it infecting them as many people as they say? I'm highly skeptical.
Maybe not,
I am highly skeptical.
Bro, the amount of people that I know personally that have gotten and been who have healed or whatever is up to 6 now. I know 6 people who've had it, and they're all just saying, it felt pretty crummy for a few days, but really no big deal. Not to say that other people haven't passed. Like I said, I know one of my friends, her grandparents passed from it, but of course, there's age issues and COPD and things involved. But everybody else who has had it is they're up and running around now, going to super spreader events.
Yeah, I have some family, or at least extended family, that have also passed away from it, allegedly. Mm-hmm. And I can't dig too much because it's too far removed from family. It's
sensitive thing.
It's sensitive. I don't want to get in there and be like, have you seen this paper?
Right, that's not going to help anybody.
It's not. But I am skeptical as to, okay, they might have gotten it, but was that the main cause of their death? And they were older, they're over 60.
And
so
the point is not, nobody's dying from this. It's that, the death rates generally, at least in our country, have stayed almost exactly the same as past years. And people dying is very unfortunate. And of course, people should take steps to protect themselves. But as far as, shutting down an entire economy and taking away people's livelihoods and ability to feed their children, that's where it gets a little sketchy.
Yeah, that's really the whole point here. And I don't think locking down is the answer. And neither do these sheriffs, or at least this sheriff department.
Woo, sheriffs!
In Riverside County, going all in. Let's play a quick clip of Chad Bianco, Riverside County Sheriff.
We have all recently learned of the new regional approach to combating COVID-19 and the pending closure and stay-at-home orders from our governor. We were also told there was a potential he would be withholding federal and state funding from counties who did not enforce the orders.
Ooh.
Ironically, it wasn't that long ago our same governor loudly and publicly argued how wrong it was for the President of the United States to withhold federal funding from states not complying with federal laws. The dictatorial attitude toward California residents while dining in luxury, traveling, keeping his business open, and sending his kids to in-person private schools is very telling about his attitude toward California residents, his feelings about the virus, and it is extremely hypocritical. These closures and stay-at-home orders are flat out ridiculous. The metrics used for closures are unbelievably faulty and are not representative of true numbers and are disastrous for Riverside County. When the medical field is so split about this virus, it might be time to employ a little common sense. Keeping money and support from our hospitals, who are struggling with normal, seasonal increases in patients, coupled with COVID-19 patients, is irresponsible. It appears part of the new goal is to shift attention away from his and others' personal behavior with a do as I say, not as I do attitude by turning public opinion against California sheriffs. He is expecting us to arrest anyone violating these orders, cite them and take their money, close their businesses, make them stay in their homes, and take away their civil liberties, or he will punish all of us. I believe that all jobs are essential to someone. Leaders do not threaten, attempt to intimidate, or cause fear. Bullies do.
Oh.
As has been our position from the beginning of this pandemic, the Sheriff's Department is asking and expecting Riverside County residents to act responsibly and do what they can to protect themselves and their family from contracting the virus.
Shoo, hallelujah.
Booyah, man. I gotta say, I've said it once, I've said it before, I'll say it a million times. The sheriffs are the coolest law enforcement agency in this country. You know why? Because they're elected.
Yeah.
They're elected by the people that they serve. And not many other law enforcement agencies have elected leaders like that. So this guy's cool. For those who are asking in the chat, he's from Riverside County, which is east of LA County.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah, a little bit southeast there. And I'm in Orange County Sheriff Don Barnes also basically agreed with the whole thing. He put out a statement, and it was echoing the same thing pretty much. So, yeah, good stuff. And this is consistent with a retired military, former high-level military guy that I interviewed that I think we might interview this week as well. I think he's going to be our guest on Friday. No, not 100% on that, but I'm pretty sure. He was saying that if it came down to certain actions from the top, whether it be a president or whoever, the local and state level, police department and enforcements, if they don't agree with it, they're not gonna, just force it on people.
Yeah,
and so
that's the great thing about about free-thinking law enforcement people in this country is the people at the top think that they can just boss law enforcement around. And in some cases that is true, but the sheriff's the sheriff system in the United States is a pretty cool system. They get to kind of go rogue a little bit. They're more or less kind of in charge of themselves.
Yeah. So this is good to see. Good to see. And I'm glad in California, even though 33 million people are struggling with the lockdowns, it's mostly this truly, more than to fight the virus, this is an economic attack on California. It's not a virus prevention thing. It's an economic one.
With as much bragging as Newsom has done about how big the California economy is, I think what is it, like the third largest economy in the world or something?
I thought we're so far in debt that his eyeballs were turning purple.
Well, he talks about it all the time, and it's talked about specifically in the context of California seceding, when they kind of talk about that. But he's doing a great job of destroying the third largest economy in the world.
It's out of control. Let's see here. Let me look at the California debt clock. Population 39 million, almost 40 million. Unemployed 5.4 million. $566 million in debt.
That's nothing.
And we're spending $657 million. Oh, I'm sorry. Hold on. Is that billion?
Yeah, that has to be billion.
Oh, yeah,
That can't be
566
million.
billion. I'm sorry, yeah.
There we go.
My mistake. Oh, I'm sorry. Add three decimal places. $566 billion in debt.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
No, that's serious business. And yes, I think Mikey in the chat is saying California is the 5th largest economy in the world. That sounds more correct than what I was saying here. So, yeah, there you go. But that's some good news coming from the sheriff there of Riverside County, east of LA. And, more than anything, it's just nice every time somebody... I'm not really excited when like a politician comes against, lockdown stuff. There's plenty of politicians who are against it, and that's great. Plenty of governors across the U.S. are, have varying levels of disobedience from what they're being told to do.
Yeah.
But the thing is that governors, they really don't have a direct connection with the people that they govern, as well as sheriff's departments do. Sheriffs are directly elected, and they're pretty much in contact with their people all day, every day. So it gives them a little bit more say when they're talking about not locking people down. So, anyways, there we go. This guy rules.
Yeah. Well, at least there's something good there.
Yeah, something good. All right. Well, should we take a quick little break?
Short
Thank
break.
some producers.
Let's do it.
It's break time. Come on, take a break.
Okay, folks, we're going to take a quick break, but do not go anywhere, because after the break, oh no, Gonz, there's some more recategorization of Asian Americans. So you got to stick around and hear about that, Gonz.
I feel like I'm getting dragged into the race war.
Well, you're our resident person of color on the show, and so
that depends on who you ask.
That's true. And then after that, everybody's favorite, there's a Nephilim update. But real quick, let us thank some of our producers. Now, some of you might be thinking, what do you mean? What do you mean, producers? Well, we're on the value for value system. Long ago, we have eschewed the corrupt system of advertising in which big corporations incentivize little guys like Gonz and I to consider you, dear listener, not as a human being with your own lives and dreams and toes, but instead as a commodity.
Without gout.
With no gout, a commodity to be bought and sold on the internet for our own personal gain. And, it takes a while for people to really let this sink in, but it really is a big problem. It's really not cool how the world is structured with advertising and smaller pieces of media on the internet. I mean, it's the advertising companies all wrapped up in big data, all wrapped up in privacy concerns that have caused, they really are the cause for a lot of the mainstream corruption, the mainstream media corruption, because you can't talk bad about a big pharma company, because what are the commercials during the news on mainstream? It's all big pharma. Pfizer is a huge advertiser on the mainstream news, and that does trickle down to online media as well. Long ago, we decided that we are going to divorce ourselves from the tight icy grip of the advertising industry, and that if we were going to keep this show going, and if we were gonna make it a long-term full-time thing, that it was not going to be like that. And thankfully, our producers have stepped up. That's right, we're on the value for value system, which means that you, dear producer, get to choose the value of your media. We're not very brand safe, as the industry calls it. So, if we were taking advertising dollars, that would make it so we could talk about some things, couldn't talk about other things, might get paid a little bit more to make sure we put certain big corporations in a positive light. As long as we can sell mattresses and underwear or something, we'll see what could happen. But Instead, our producers have decided to also rebel against the global theology of advertising and put their own value on the media that, they value. And so, first of all, the first way that we will thank some of our producers have decided to support the show with their treasure, and we are so very grateful to them for that. The first way that you can... Oh, yeah, I see that. Do you want to do that right now, Gonz?
You can. Just whenever you feel.
Let's do it after. We'll do it.
Okay.
We'll do it before the art. The first way to do that is by heading over to patreon.com/CCNT for Canary Cry News Talk. And we have 3 new producers over there. Well, first of all, This Intangible Existence upgraded their producership. So thank you very much, producer This Intangible Existence, a musician who I talked to on the Joyspiracy Theory for an episode. It was a great one.
All right.
So thank you, This Intangible Existence. Next, we have producer Rebecca H.
Thank you, producer Rebecca.
Thank you very much, producer Rebecca. Next, we have producer Gary. Thank you very much, producer Gary H.
Thank you, producer Gary.
Then we also have patreon.com/Canary Cry Radio. Canary Cry Radio is technically our interview style show. We had a great conversation with Jay Dyer on Friday for Canary Cry Radio. And over on the patreon.com/Canary Cry Radio, we have Aiden M. coming in and upgrading his producership for Canary Cry Radio. Thank you very much,
Aiden.
Okay, now, if you don't like Patreon, that's okay. A lot of people don't like Patreon. We totally understand. That's why we have canarycryradio.com/support.
canarycryradio.com/support.
That's right. It's back up and running, folks. canarycryradio.com/support is back. So you can head there to support the show in a lot of different ways. One of them is just through PayPal there. You can come in with monthly producership, or if commitment is not your thing, you can just make a one-time producership in any amount. And Gonz, who do we have coming in on PayPal?
PayPal, we got a good handful of people today. Thank you for all the producers and recurring producers there. We don't always mention your name, but we do appreciate it. First off, we have producer Aaron's Flooring.
Thank you very much, Aaron's Flooring.
And he has a note here. Love the Christian perspective on the news, guys. One tiny suggestion. Enough with the Flippy updates.
No way. Flippy forever.
I know one man who is against that whole idea. Value for value all the way. No agenda style. So thank you for that.
Thank you very much.
Producer Aaron's Flooring. Next up, we have producer Dust. Yeah. Producer Dust. And that's...
He sent over some support from Canary Cry Merch Perch.
Amen. That's very cool. Yeah, good to see.
Thank you very much. There's our first paycheck from the Merch Perch. And I might as well just...
Stepping all over jingles again.
Sorry, that eagle got me again. I might as well just mention right now, make sure to head over to Canary Cry Merch Perch, where you can get your Canary Cry merch. It's a family affair. It's created by producer Dust. He runs the whole thing, and all of the products are sold at cost, so they're as cheap as we can make them, or as cheap as Dust can make them. But you have the opportunity to tip the artist, tip the webmaster, or you can tip Gonz and I as well. So thank you very much. And make sure to check out canarycrymerchperch.com.
Kara Dawn, or maybe Sarah, Dawn in the chat says, do you guys run the Canary Cry Radio merch page on Redbubble? And I think we made a Redbubble page a long time ago. We haven't touched it.
I haven't been on there in a long time. But that's the great thing about Redbubble, is it kind of runs itself.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. We did create that long ago. I would be curious if it's still running over there. But yes, if you do find Canary Cry Radio merch over on Redbubble, it's probably our old one.
Yeah, years ago.
Yeah.
Okay, continuing on here. Producer Sylvan.
Thank you very much, Producer Sylvan.
Thank you, Producer Sylvan. Next up, we have Producer Ivan L.
Thank you very much, Producer Ivan.
Producer Ivan L. And then we have Producer Sherry H. Or is it Sherry?
Cherie.
Cherie, that's right. Cherie H.
Yes, thank you very much, Producer Cherie.
And next up, we have Producer Mercury Rising.
Woo, that's fun. Thank you very much, Producer Mercury Rising. And I believe Producer Mercury has the executive producership for the show.
Yes,
he
does.
Executive producer of episode 273.
Perfect. Next, we have Producer Dale B. Thank you, Producer Dale B.
Thank you very much, Producer Dale.
And a new monthly supporter, Producer Teresa Y.
Thank you very much, Producer Teresa Y. Woo!
All right.
Well, that's a breath of fresh air after the couple weeks of producership scare we had there. So thank you guys very much. Yes, that's the only way we can keep the show going. If it wasn't for our producers, who knows where we'd be, Gonz? It would be a dark, dark winter. Now, let's do this now. Let's do the Spotify thing now. Okay. So, as many of you are aware, if you use Spotify, the Spotify wrap up was happening over the past couple weeks here. For those who don't know, it's basically Spotify takes all of your big data and makes you graphs and tells you who you listen to the most and how many hours of listening to Nine Inch Nails you spend throughout the year, or whatever. But we had a producer send in his Spotify wrap up, and it was kind of cool. I got to pull it up. I completely lost it. Where did it go? Do you have it?
You got to scroll way down.
Got to scroll. Ah, there we go. Yes. And so we will show on the screen here. It's a Spotify wrap up. And that's us, Gonz. You threw your own Canary Cry radio marathon listening to 7 episodes in one day.
How does that even work?
I have no idea.
That's not sleeping much, apparently.
Do you have the name of this guy? Do I need to look it up?
Yeah,
Hold on. Let me
look
it up.
The email.
You do the next one while I look it up.
Okay, the other one here, it's another Canary Cry. Your top podcast was Canary Cry Radio. You listened to 95 episodes for a total of 9,572 minutes. Small talk doesn't stand a chance.
That's pretty funny.
That's a lot of minutes being listened of us.
How many was it exactly?
9,572 minutes of Canary Cry Radio. 95 episodes total.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, this guy is really doing it. Oh my gosh. I'm trying so hard.
Yeah, you got to go back.
Find it.
You got to go back like over a week maybe.
Well, I just searched Spotify.
Oh, that might be rough.
Didn't work, so I gotta find it. Okay, you continue while I find the Spotify guy.
Okay. As Basil was mentioning, there are other ways you can support the show, and of course, your treasure is very much welcome, and we appreciate that. But you can also give us your time and your talent.
I found it.
Oh, yep. Go ahead.
It's Sergey.
It's
producer Sergey. Thank you very much, Sergey.
Appreciate it. Yeah, that's a lot of minutes dedicated to listening to us ramble on.
It's crazy. Somebody listened to us for almost 10,000 hours this year.
Gosh, that's so many hours.
That's so fun.
So let me. What was I doing? Oh, yes, I was introducing the different ways you can support the show, and as a producer, and other than with your treasure, it's with your time and your talent. And you can send us jingles or little ISOs of songs or clips that you find. And we have a couple of them to share here. Give me one moment. Now that I scrolled down, I got to scroll back up and find the spot there. First off, we have a clip.
Hold on. I just got a note I'm going to put in there for you.
Oh, okay.
Oh, gosh.
More things.
Oh, no.
Oh,
no. I've ruined everything. Hold on. Oh, I'm so sorry. I've destroyed.
Put in a giant logo of Twitch, which...
Here, I'll just do this. This will make it clear.
Oh, what happened?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Excellent. First off, we wanted to thank producer Terrell. Thank you, producer Terrell. He sent in a clip from... I think he said it was from... Oh, where is it? Here it is. Oh, no. Where did it go? I had it ready to go.
Oh, no.
Let's see.
Oh, no. We're falling apart,
I
Gonz.
know. I just... Oh, boy. Here it is. It's a clip from Star Trek, and I wanted to play this for everybody.
We don't have enough masks.
We don't need masks.
You heard it there first.
Oh, yeah.
We don't need masks, according to data on Star Trek. So thank you.
That is a fun one. We should get a clean. We should find a clean clip of that.
Yeah, that's a good one. So thank you for that, Terrell. Okay, we got a couple songs sent in by Objectivity Cave, so we appreciate that. Thank you, producer Objectivity Cave. And let's do some artwork.
One art, please.
We always love the artwork being sent in. This first one here was sent in by Josiah, and Josiah drew Battle Rap, Gonz Eternal versus Basil I Am. What do you expect, mother? I'm half machine. And it's little tank-like Flippy robots with our heads on it.
Yeah, this is great. Some battle rap from an episode or two ago. And they've got the did you know that BattleBots is playing still? The TV show BattleBots?
I did not. I thought I saw something on it recently, but I thought it was like a rerun.
Yeah, I think they're making BattleBots again. Anyways, cool. I digress. We've got two BattleBot-looking Flippy bots with, I think these are drawings that Allie did of us.
Yeah.
Pasted on there. So, Gonz, you and I are officially battle-rapping robots.
Yeah, that should be fun.
Very fun.
We should just do that since we're both so good at dropping lines.
You're getting pretty good.
Not on the fly, though. I can't do it on the fly.
Well, that's the big secret about battle rap is everybody kind of writes their bars beforehand and then just fits them in.
Except that Flippy that we saw yesterday or the other episode.
Yeah, that's true.
Doing it on cue. So thank you for that, producer Terrell. Producer Josiah. Producer Josiah. We appreciate it. Next up, we have producer Rianne. She drew Fighting the Illuminati, one podcast at a time. And it's a picture of best buddy Basil. It's a basil leaf.
It's a basil leaf wearing a superhero cape. This is very fun.
Pretty sweet. And Super Gonz, which is the Muppet baby Gonzo, who I identified with as a young person because I didn't know anybody named Gonzo. And if you watch the movie, he's an alien. This is very disappointing. But he's an alien from outer space.
He's giving away your secret, Gonz.
I know. It's no good. It's no good. But anyway, this is a great hand drawing here from Rianne. Appreciate it. It's very good.
Thank you very much, producer Rianne.
I kind of like the little basil leaf with the cape version for you.
It's very cute.
Yeah.
Very cute. Not very scary looking, though.
Yeah, well.
I don't know if it would stop any crime. Just on looks alone.
Well, thank you for that, producer Rianne. Next up, we have producer Grace come in with a quote. This is a Gonz quote from Canary Cry News Talk 272. Wars will be fought with battle rap. Work on those chops, kids. Drop those lines. Oh, yeah. So there
the
you go.
Battle rap was a real moment.
I guess so. Yeah, people really liked it. So there you go. Producer Grace coming in with the quotes. We really appreciate that. And next up, we have producer Allie. This was fantastic. I loved it. It's the three presidents. It's so on cue, like for today's show. It's so right on. It's the three ex-presidents, Clinton, Bush Jr., and Obama. They're all standing there as reptilians.
Yes,
because they took the vaccine for the people.
They said the side effects are there's what side effects? The side effects are fine. And Bill Clinton's got some horns growing out with his little reptilian eyeballs there. It looks like Bush got away got out the easiest. He just had some fangs come in.
Well, his eyes too.
Yes, he's got his reptilian eyes. And then Obama's gone full reptilian.
Full scales all over his face. Yeah. Oh, it was great. This made me laugh. This brought a smile to my face. So thank you for that. Producer Allie, keep it up. And one more from producer Shauna. This is actually a picture, and I'm only sharing this because I did ask for it on Twitter. People were saying they saw stuff in the sky. It was Starlink, and I wanted to know if anybody grabbed a picture, a photo of Starlink. And this was apparently a friend of Shauna's, I think it said in the email. Mm-hmm. But it's a pretty good picture. And is this what we expect to see? A light show in the sky?
Well, I think whoever took the picture knows their camera quite well, because it's kind of a little bit of a longer exposure, so you can really see it. But yeah, there you go. A full line of satellites just flying through the sky, one after the other.
And one of these days, it's going to have Elon's mug.
I know.
In the sky, telling you.
Easy. They got to just do it.
Just put it in your brain. We're already connected. What if it just repeated that? Put it in your brain. We're already connected. Okay, so there you go. Thank you for that, Shauna. Producer Shauna. We really appreciate it. And I think that's it for all the producership. Oh, let me pull up. Somebody did put together the timestamps for the last episode. And let me get my source here so that I do it accurately. And what am I missing here? It was producer Jade Bouncerson, once again, coming in, doing the timestamps for episode number 272.
Thank you very much. Very important to get those timestamps. It helps people on the YouTube channels skip around to, topic to topic instead of trying to make it all the way through.
Yes. So there you go. I think that's all the producerships that we need to thank for today's show.
Okay.
Episode
Wonderful.
237. We're getting there. We're almost at 300.
That's right. Thank you to all of our producers. And remember, that's real. That's the real deal, But podcasts are so respected nowadays. You can actually put producer for episode 273 on your LinkedIn, put it on your resume, give them our email. We will vouch for you. And so thank you very much to all of our producers, all of our artists, and all of our musicians for giving us your treasure, time, and talent. We truly couldn't do the show without you. And remember, to support us for next show. It'll be episode 274 coming up on Wednesday. And you can do that by heading to patreon.com/CCNT or head over to canarycryradio.com/support.
canarycryradio.com/support.
That's right. Okie dokie. Well, Gonz, should we wake on up?
Let's do it.
Yes, it's wake up time.
Hey, yo, wake up.
Hey, yo, wake up. Okay, here we go. So we're going to start out with a great news outlet, Not the Bee.
Race war. I've warned you and warned you and warned you.
Still trying to figure out if Not the Bee is associated with the Babylon Bee.
I thought it was.
I have a feeling it is, but
I thought it was their official
it's their real news
satire
site.
News, yeah, which is hard to tell apart.
It is,
nowadays.
But this is notthebee.com. It's now considered, quote, white supremacist for an Asian to advocate for rule of law, which makes me think this isn't about white supremacy anymore. It's taken a long time, but there is an increasing evidence that wokeism has broken out of the backwaters of obscure gender studies professors' lounges and irrelevant celebrity activists struggling to get Instagram likes, and has begun making inroads into the hard sciences. The most recent example is the kerfuffle that came about from an email sent out by the president of Multidisciplinary Digital Publishing Institute, or MDPI, an open access publisher of author pays scholarly papers. And the email reads as such. When Soros Foundation started to support OA publishing, most of the OA journals listed on the Soros Foundation sponsored website were the journals launched and operated by me. I have been working hard to run MDPI to become the largest OA publishing company and one of the 5 largest scholarly journal publishers. I would like to clarify that, as an OA publisher, I admire my colleagues and friends from Elsevier, Springer Nature, Elsevier, Springer Nature, Wiley, Frontiers, and many other companies or organizations who keep the same professional codes and standards of scholarly publishing service. More broadly, the frog is coming out. More broadly, I believe the so-called open society should also follow the rule of law and maintain law and order like other kind of society. Rule of law is the very foundation of Western civilization. I had a short conversation with the president of the prestigious Swiss university, EPFL. I know he does not like Trump, and I said perhaps Trump is the man to save the Western civilization because Trump has been protecting the social system of rule of law. It is strange that the media, including scholarly journals like Nature and NEJM, abandons political neutrality and start to create hatred between genders, races, nationalities, and perhaps classes. And I'm going back to the, there it is. It is strange that media, including, I think people are taken as respectable and honorable or better fit of a good position only because of their merits, nothing to do with their gender, race, nationality, etc. I do not think Biden will give more money to support scientists to do research. He will take money from hardworking people or taxpayers to pay lazy people, and there will be less money to distribute as research grants. As a chemist, I know the French Revolution killed the founder of modern chemistry, a best scientist. This kind of movement in the Western countries supported by Biden will be disastrous to all of us. Sad. It becomes politically correct to say, like Nature said, Biden, wear the most beautiful clothes. The silent majority, including me, see that the emperor has no clothes. This is best regards, Shu Kun, PhD, president of MDPI. The article continues. You could tell this was going to be trouble right from the start. First, look at the guy's names. Shu Kun Lin. Talk about signaling white supremacy. Might as well be Bradley Witherspoon III. Fortunately, Michelle Nolan, an assistant university librarian at the University of Florida responsible for chemical engineering, chemistry, and materials science and engineering, was not going to stand idly by and allow this outrage to stand. Rather than point out the questionable judgment of sending a nakedly partisan email to a professional listserv, she went right for the obvious elephant in the room. This was fascistic rhetoric. Here's the tweet from Michelle Nolan. Would absolutely love to know why the president of MDPI Open Access is sending fascist rhetoric out to a professional chem information listserv. Researchers, if you have ever considered publishing or reviewing for MDPI, it's time to reconsider. What made it fantastic, other than the fact that nowhere in the email did he condemn President Trump and even suggest he might have a positive quality or two? It was his use of coded white supremacist dog whistles. And it's another tweet from Michelle Nolan here explaining, I thought that reading rule of law is the very foundation of Western civilization was going to be the most white supremacist coded language I read in a professional email all day. But then I kept reading the same email. Back to the article.
Wait a minute.
What?
Rule of law is the very foundation of Western civilization.
It's racist.
The most white supremacist coded language?
Yes.
For a communist?
You know only racists love rule of law?
She's a commie.
She is a commie. She's a librarian.
Oh, gosh.
They let you just take books for free at the library.
Oh, that's right. You gotta put it on your card.
The article continues. You can read this for yourself in his email above. If you don't believe me, he actually supports the rule of law and Western civilization. Clearly white supremacist coded language, according to a University of Florida chemist who likely has a frequent interactions with impressionable young minds. And that wasn't the worst of it, as she intimates. No, it gets genuinely horrific after this. Let's see. She continues in her tweets. He also emailed the following message to the entire listserv on 6/9/20 during the Hudlicki-Angu fiasco, which I'm sure Chem Twitter remembers well. Are you hooked in with Chem Twitter? Apparently there's a chemistry Twitter.
I am not. I really didn't like chemistry in high school.
Okay. Adding in a follow-up email that it was his personal opinion when questioned if he was speaking for MDPI officially. And this horrible email he sent said, "Too many hypocrites. I do not see any problem with Professor Thomas Hudlicki's opinion. Black Lives Matter, White Lives Matter, All Lives Matter, Shukun, White Supremacy, Heil Hitler." I added that second part. The article continues. Yes, he went there. All lives matter. The hatred from this hater is almost too much to handle all at once. I mean, all lives, really? Shame on this white supremacist. And then
there's a picture
of him where they drew a Hitler mustache on this poor Asian man.
Well, and it says this in parentheses. This picture may or may not have been doctored.
Yeah. Okay, we're almost done here. Finally, now that we have clearly established that Shu Kun Lin is an unrepentant white supremacist who believes in the fascistic concept that the rule of law is the foundation of Western civilization, we can now make fun of the fact that English is not his first language. And then, of course, they show some tweets that were on that thread. Wow, also, is it just me, or was the full transformation to illiterate grunt complete by paragraph 3? Another tweet. The lack of critical analysis is bad, but the terrible grammar is astounding coming from a man calling others lazy who aligns himself so strongly with the ideologies of the great Western civilization. So, of course, they're making fun of his English as a second language there, as any good liberal should. And the article ends with, enjoy your daily dose of woke-approved racism. So there you go, Gonz. I'm sorry, man, but you and your Asian brethren are having a real hard time being allowed to think for yourselves.
You know, the big thing that I got from this article, other than the main points there, which I guess the sarcasm is understood there.
Yes.
There's a lot of news outlets that, what people say on Twitter has become stories all over the place.
Mm-hmm.
But I will say, when Not the Bee does it, it's a little more substantive and more fun.
Yeah, they have
so
fun.
I give them credit for spinning up a story mostly based on people's tweets, which is a thing now.
That's a mainstream media approved strategy
methodology. Yeah. And making good points out of it. And if you want to do that, there is so much you can do from, I guess, this side of the aisle, if you want to call it that, or at least pointing out the socialist or communist type of thinking, the hypocrisy, all that stuff. It's nonstop. There's a treasure trove of things you can do to report on that. So, but on the other hand, I'm not surprised.
I do want to mention Brad in the YouTube chat says you have a You have a context notice on your live YouTube video for reptilian humanoid. We're being fact checked.
Yes,
we
did it.
Fact checked live.
State-sponsored propaganda machinery.
If that's not a good reason for everybody watching right now to make sure you hit the like button, I don't know what is. You got to do it.
Yeah. There was also, speaking of librarians, there was a story, I didn't include it, but there was a story about some Ivy League librarians who were, speaking on and on about a world without police. Did you see that?
No, I missed it.
Yeah, I'm not going to pull it up.
This is funny. I've never seen this context alert. It basically automatically links a Wikipedia article to the entry for reptilian humanoid.
That's been a thing for a long time.
Yeah, I don't watch a whole lot of YouTube, so
I guess
that's fun. That's a great service. I'm happy about this.
Yeah, except how many people are going to click on that?
Except for it puts us in a category. We're on some sort of list now.
Oh, we've been on a list.
We've finally made it onto a list.
We've been on a list for a long time. Okay. All right. One more thing here. I'm not too concerned about what this lady has to say. If defending the rule of law makes me a white supremacist.
No, it's just the madness.
Then, I don't know. She can go supreme her whiteness somewhere else.
Nephilim update. Nephilim update. Nephilim update.
Boy.
AndroidAuthority.com.
Oh, this sounds like a dope website.
Dope. The best Stars TV shows you can stream right now.
Oh, okay.
Do you have Stars TV?
No.
I
thought they went out of business.
I don't know who still has it, but apparently they're still around.
Okay.
And this is all propaganda. But first off, there's a couple of them. I'll get to the Nephilim part. The number one show, American Gods. Ongoing. This is 2 seasons.
Yeah.
There's a character named Moon, Shadow Moon.
He's the main character.
Yeah. Moon quickly discovers that not only is Mr. Wednesday, Moon meets Mr. Wednesday. Mr. Wednesday, the Norse god Odin, but that other old gods still exist. Mr. Wednesday seeks to round up these old gods to battle against the new gods, such as drugs and technology.
Yeah. This is pretty interesting show. This was a book by Neil Gaiman, which somebody sent to me a while back, and I have not read it yet. I'm sorry. It's a little intimidating. It's a big book. But I did watch the first episode of American Gods because they give it to you for free. I don't have a Stars. I think Stars might be running it through Amazon Prime or HBO or something. But I saw the first episode. It was very interesting. And, it's obviously filled with all sorts of stuff you wouldn't want your kids to watch. But they also charge for every individual episode.
Oh, gosh.
So you have to pay $3 every episode, which is why I only watched one. I wasn't quite locked in. But it's kind of Mike Heiser-esque. Like it's
sure.
It kind of personifies, the old gods, the Elohim, and then kind of has the uprising of the new gods. Like, I don't know, there's like this kid who kind of represents technology and the digital world. And it sort of plays out the battle between all of these gods. But very reminiscent of like the Elohim described in the Bible. And their sort of territory disputes and things like that.
Yeah, it reminds me again of Daniel 11. We talked about it in the last episode, I think. But Daniel 11, how the man of sin, Antichrist figure, he's going to, reject the old gods and magnify himself above every god, but also do so honoring the god of fortresses, a new god. This other god that the gods of his fathers did not know. So. Kind of interesting. Interesting that maybe this Neil Gaiman was, new of. It says 2001 was when the book came out, so maybe he.
He also wrote Good Omens, which people were not appreciative either. That's the one where it's a demon and an angel, and they become friends, and they help. I can't remember it. They either help end the world or help stop the end of the world. One of those things.
Excellent. So that was the number one show.
Very edgy.
Yeah, of course. But the show I really wanted to point out here is Da Vinci's Demons. 3 seasons. Yeah, I didn't know that there was a thing, Da Vinci's Demons.
Wow, Starz is very focused
on
their content.
Oh, yeah. This is a fictional take on 25-year-old Leonardo da Vinci in Renaissance Florence. He's searching for the Book of Leaves, a tome he believes could change history. Mystery shrouds this book's origin. Does it originate from Atlantis? Was it written by a Nephilim? These questions lead him to a mysterious cult known as the Sons of Mithras, who determine Da Vinci can see and alter the future. There you go.
Wow.
If you want to break down
There you go.
There you go.
Was it written by Nephilim? We'll never know.
We'll never know. That was the main one. I think there was one more to point out here. The Pillars of the Earth miniseries.
Oh. Wow, they are so consistent.
I know. Based on the historical novel written by Welsh author Ken Follett, this miniseries takes place in a fictional 12th century town called Kingsbridge. War surrounds this little town as England and Normandy clash during the Anarchy. Listen to this. Tom Builder, a mason who lost his wife and child, comes to Kingsbridge seeking work. He's directed to rebuild a local cathedral requiring land and resources granted by King Stephen. There you go. Tom Builder.
Yes.
A mason named Tom Builder. Overall, the story... sorry.
Gonz, if we lived in those times, we would be called Basil Podcaster.
That is true.
That's just how it worked back then.
And then our children will be Podcaster Son. Or podcaster dotier. Yeah, I'm sure.
Podcasterson.
Yeah.
Podcasterson.
Yeah, Podcasterson.
I want to change my name. I am Basil Podcasterson.
That's impossible. Podcast did not exist in your father's time.
Oh, my gosh.
You're lying.
It's a conspiracy.
I like the dotier, too. Podcast dotier.
I don't know that one.
It's daughter.
What does that mean?
Daughter.
Oh.
Dotier. Dottier, I think. Anyway, overall, the story spans roughly 32 years across 8 episodes. Why not 33? So close. It's almost like they left some extra space for...
they got to have...
the big cameo show or something to put it all
the
together.
Movie.
Yeah,
the movie.
The movie.
The 33rd.
Yeah, there you go. So there you go. That's our little Nephilim update.
Nephilim update. Nephilim update. Nephilim update.
Gotta stay updated on those Nephilim. Well, there you go, folks. Thank you so much. Oh my gosh. Okay, good. Whew. I just had a panic attack. I didn't think I recorded this.
Oh, did I?
Okay.
Okay, good. I did too.
Yes. Okay, good.
Yay.
That's why we're professional podcasters. We actually record our podcasts. Anyways, thank you very much, folks, for tuning in to this episode of Canary Cry News Talk. We are going to be back, so don't worry. Don't be sad. We'll be back on Wednesday, December 9th. And we'll probably get started a little early that day.
Yes.
Hey, Gonz?
Yes.
Okay, so
I have a hard out that day.
Okay, so we'll be getting started around noon, maybe even a little sooner. So update your calendars. Should we just start a big G-Cal for people where we can just keep everybody updated and it automatically updates them?
I don't know about a G-Cal.
I don't know if anybody's done that before. That would be interesting.
That would be.
Yeah. Anyways, so there you go. Noon on Wednesday, December 9th is somewhere around there is when we will be getting started. So make sure to update your calendars. Turn on notifications. Hit that little bell wherever you are. And make sure to hit the like button right now before you leave. Very important, folks, to hit the like button to convince all those algorithms to let other people watch or listen to the program. But remember, we're going to need support for Wednesday's show. You can become a producer by heading to patreon.com/CCNT, or you can head over to canarycryradio.com/support.
canarycryradio.com/support.
That's right. Remember, over there you can help us out by becoming a monthly producer, or if commitment is not your thing, you can become a producer with any amount you want. There's also cryptocurrency options and all sorts of fun ways to support the show. And you can learn more about the Canary Cry Roundtable of Knights and Dames. Very important to know about that. But until then, everybody, you can also help out the show by sharing the show. You can share it on your social, or just go ahead and send an episode directly to, your friends or your family or whatever. If you do post it on social, make sure to tag Gonz and I, because then we can see it and help signal boost your signal. That'll be very helpful for the show, because, we all know that it's just a matter of stumbling across the right content on the internet sometimes. And you can help a poor stranger who is not listening to Canary Cry News Talk to find it and enjoy it. Or, if you have friends and family who are starting to wake up to the fact that the world is not what it seems, you can just send an episode directly to them. Maybe they don't know how to use podcasts or use YouTube. That's a great opportunity to teach them about how well the internet works. So there you go. And if you need any more instructions, here's what you do. You walk right up to him, you grab him by the cage, and then you shake it.
The end of the world occurred pretty much as we had predicted.
I want to shake things up, stir up some controversy, rattle a few cages. Hey, stop that! You'll never silence me. I'm the last angry man, a crusader for the little guy. Leave the bird alone. Never. Rattle a few cages. Rattle a few cages.
The human race will have every opportunity to improve.
And if they don't?
Ask Noah.
And if they don't? All right, Gonz. Well, thank you, everybody, for listening. One more time, just a reminder, Wednesday, December 9th, around noon, be here or else. Gonz, do you have any last words?
Yeah, I'm looking at a story that I think we'll cover on Wednesday. An agents raid home of fired Florida data scientist who built COVID-19 dashboard, and there's some video. It's going all over Twitter. So we'll research this, see what's going on here, and allegedly this lady was fired for not manipulating data to support opening back up Florida back in May, and now agents raided her home. So we'll see what's going on here.
Whoa, big story.
Yeah, big story.
Okay, we'll talk about that on Wednesday. Well, thanks everybody for listening. Now, here's the thing. Make sure to stick around. We'll have the Canary Cry mixtape at the end of the show. And God bless you all. Thanks for listening to this episode of Canary Cry News Talk. Make sure to tune in next time. But until then, think outside the cage.
Sinful generation!
Demonic power! He's a Satanist and melt those babies into candles.
Better, bigger, tastier.
Remember, reality is an illusion. The universe is a hologram. Buy gold. Buy!
I want to shake things up, shake things up. I want to shake things up, shake things up. Leave the bird alone. I want to stir up some controversy. I want to rattle a few cages. I'm the last angry man. You'll never silence me. I'm the last angry man. I'm the last angry man. You'll never silence me. I'm the last angry man. A crusader for the little guy. Well, we'll see about that.
Whatever, Illuminati.
Fun fact, I believe it was another fun fact. Another fun fact.
Brings me back to my Screamo days.
Don't even get me started on bidets, man. Bidets, man. Bidets, man. I'm telling you, you were living the life, man. Bidets, man.
From the king. Do pot, that's where I started.
Light up a huge blunt.
A joint.
Give everybody
Magic
mushrooms. Smoke. The CIA, I mean, lots of intelligence agencies have tested secretly dosing communities. LSD.
Psychoactive pills should be covertly administered.
Just put me on some, I don't know.
Give you a shot in the butt. Fluoride, oxytocin. Get a chemical hug.
I did dabble, some of that robot crack. I know what it's like.
It's a lethal recipe for disaster. You need help.
If you're a pharmacist, you need to repent.
All right, weird.
Don't push your
In the future, humans will be confined in a people's zoo.
People, I'll keep you safe and warm in my people's zoo. I'll keep you safe and warm now in my people's zoo. You, yeah, you in my people's zoo. I'll keep the cameras on. People's zoo.